Alright guys, I'm about to go see Creed 2 in Dolby. Oh, it's dark in here. I'm about to go see Creed 2 in Dolby with my parents right now. I'm so excited about this movie. I love the first movie so much. So, let's head in. Alright guys, so I went to go check out one of my most anticipated movies of this year, Creed 2. I did go see this one in Dolby. I will be talking about Dolby after the actual review for the movie itself. But I have been counting the days to see this movie, for this movie to be released, ever since I saw the first movie at a screening 3 years ago. And I absolutely love that first movie. I think it's actually my favorite movie from the Rocky franchise. And basically in this movie, Adonis decides to take on the fight that Victor Drago challenges him to do. And of course he's doing it because, in Rocky 4, his dad, Apollo Creed, was killed by Ivan Drago, who, his son, Victor Drago, is the one challenging Adonis. So in a way, it's just kind of a revenge story, but just told in a different way, because it's not the actual people that are going through this. It's actually more, in this case, Adonis, who is Apollo's son, and he's going through this for him. So, this is a revenge story, pretty much, obviously, told in a very different way. But my anticipation for this movie was off the roof for this one. Again, it was like my most anticipated movie for the last half of the year, after all those big summer movies came out. And let me just say, Creed 2 did not disappoint. Just like the first one, this one has more of an insight look at Adonis Creed and his life after his first fight in the first movie, and his relationship with his girlfriend Bianca, and his relationship with Rocky, and his attachment to boxing, which I really do think that they really do get deep into that in this movie, and also later in the movie becoming a father. And it's, once again, this movie just focuses a lot on him, and the movie could have been headed another way. It could have just been a generic boxing movie that follows a very overused formula that a lot of boxing movies seem to use. But in a way, this movie does follow that formula some points, but not exactly in that exact way. I think that this movie really does do its own thing, and it really just kind of separates itself from being a generic boxing movie. Now, of course, Ryan Coogler did not come back to direct this movie. Instead, he went on to go direct Black Panther, which was much more worth it for him, because that movie made $1 billion. The Creed movies are never destined to make, or the Rocky movies in general are never $1 billion movies. But I really like what he did with that first movie, and I was a bit worried for this movie because Ryan Coogler was not coming back. But I thought the director of this movie did a really good job just helming the sequel of this movie. That, of course, you did feel a bit of Ryan Coogler's absence in this movie, but you weren't too concerned about it because the way the movie was going was already very good. And you're not too concerned that Ryan Coogler went off to do his own thing with Black Panther. And of course, a new director stepping into this franchise. Of course, again, he felt like he was absent, but it wasn't a huge deal, because I thought that what the director did with this movie was very good. We see the struggles and challenges of Adonis, and once in a while you're put in his real life struggles, where you're just kind of put in his situation, and you're just thinking there, if I were his character, how would I handle this, or what would I think about this? And I think it's something that this movie just loved, and it's something that this movie just does a lot, and I just love that. I also love Rocky's purpose and contribution in this movie. He's the mentor. He was also the mentor in the first movie. But basically here, he is basically forced himself to take on the job to basically train Adonis for his fight against Drago, which is quite a dangerous fight if you actually think about it. And Michael B. Jordan just gives an outstanding performance in this movie. He really shows how worn out his character is since the first movie, because again, he just has been through so much stuff ever since the first movie. And I thought that Tessa Thompson was also really good in this movie. But some of the bigger highlights of this movie are Sylvester Stallone and Dolph Lundgren, who come face to face for the first time again in years. And their scenes together are there's just something about the scenes between both of those characters, between Rocky and between Ivan Drago, that there's something chilling about their scenes together. And also the boxing scenes here are handled really well. But in my opinion, there's just something about the boxing scenes in this movie that are just not as effective as they were in the first movie. Again, probably it could be because of the director. I don't know, I just didn't feel as much intensity in these fighting scenes. I mean, they were still pretty intense. I mean, again, it's Creed versus Drago. But they were still intense, but there's just something a tad more intense about the fighting scenes in the first movie. Maybe because it was Adonis's first fight, and there's just something about that scene in the first movie that's just so brilliant about it. And also, one thing that I think that this movie did as good, or maybe even arguably better than the first movie, was the setup and the training scenes. I thought that the training scenes in this movie were really damn good, and it just glued my eyes to the screen, and it just amazed me how much this character is willing to put to, of course, practice for this fight. And also another thing that's honestly arguably better in this movie is also the cinematography. There's something about the cinematography in this movie that I just like a lot more than I did in the first movie. Overall, it's a rare worthy sequel that it's just as good as the first movie, and I think that the first movie is amazing. Honestly, this movie's just on par with that first movie. I love this movie. I really do. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. It's a movie that I definitely recommend paying full price to go watch. And with that being said, I'm gonna give Creed 2 an A. And by the way, it's about the Dolby itself. It depends what you're watching it for, whether it's worth it for you or not. For me, what really matters when I'm watching a movie is the picture quality and the sound. And this movie was screened to me, of course, in the Dolby cinema, so it had the Dolby Vision projection. And again, the cinematography in this movie is so good that it looked so sharp and so detailed, so clean with that Dolby Vision being projected onto the screen. So I think that the Dolby projection, the Dolby 4K projection, was really good in this movie. Although the Dolby Atmos surround sound was quite disappointing, because you mainly only had sound coming from the regular channels. But there were some overhead effects. There's a scene when Adonis is standing on top of the tree, and you could hear the leaves from the tree in the overhead Atmos speakers. But I just didn't think that the Dolby Atmos was that worth it for this movie. But the Dolby Vision projection, or the Dolby Vision picture quality for this movie, was fantastic. So it depends. If you're going to go see this movie in Dolby for the Atmos surround sound, just know that there's not much use of Dolby Atmos, because this is a very dialogue heavy movie. But if you're going there for the picture quality, then you will not be disappointed. So it's up to you how you're going to go see this movie. So anyways, have you guys seen Creed 2? If you guys seen it, what did you guys think about it? Tell me in the comment section down below. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.